Jacqueline, let's do this. So the way that I'm going to take this and format this video is just, these aren't necessarily things that I would want him to be focusing on and changing right now. And the reason is he's so young, it's just tough to make these modifications without like a fluid and full body awareness yet, which I've just found at a younger age just isn't fully there. So these are more concepts and ideas to keep in mind as he's progressing. All right. Not necessarily stuff to change right now. So two things of note right away. His arms are phenomenal, nice and tight, really under control when he starts out. And so like right here, and we'll see it later in the video, this arm is really kind of extended. Ideally, we're looking for that to kind of be at a 90-degree angle at his shoulder at all times. So think like a running stride. It should be kind of here and here instead of out straight there. And so that's one thing to pay attention to, and you can watch as he skates how those are swinging around. So have him kind of think about keeping those nice and tight and together as he's going. So that's number one. Number two, okay, when he's skating, his head is not bad, but he's looking down. Just be mindful to remind him to keep his head up as he's skating and moving down the ice. You can see how he looks down right there. We just want to make sure he's looking up where he wants to go, not necessarily down. Again, normal habit for young kids. Next, long term, we're going to look to develop his like a little bit more ankle control, and you can watch how like they're a little bit sloppy, but that's again totally normal for this age, and like he'll dial that in with proper work. The good thing that I like to see is a really high indication of a kid that's going to be a good skater is this angle right here. So kind of like from his core to his hip flexor, the ability for him to push like a leg out, and then you'll watch it recover underneath him right there is really good. So again, like that's the angle of his body to kind of like where his leg goes here. He's able to basically bring his knee up and bring that leg up underneath him really well, which isn't always the case with younger skaters. So that's really, really good. Right there. And you can kind of see it if you really look for it, that motion of his knees going out and then coming back up, out, up right there. That's really good. And that's a really good thing that he doesn't have to develop that, and it's going to help him a lot. So last, and this is the hard part, this is the hard one, and this is something that is really nuanced, and it's pretty fun actually to do this because it doesn't happen a lot with, or it happens a lot with older skaters. The problem is they're moving so fast, it's difficult to pick out and pinpoint and show people. And so what we're going to discuss is, again, this kind of goes back to physics and vectors and trying to merge two separate forces into forward movement. So if this is Deck's intended direction, right? We'll call that number one. He has to push off laterally on his skate on vector number two. I can't make a two really, so I'll make a Z. On this plane in order to create forward movement. So this is the ideal direction. This is the plane that we're putting force down. So this foot that's getting put on the ice, his right foot and right leg, need to go on the ice in a way that balances the energy being created in that direction with the energy being created in this direction. And that's accomplished in a bunch of different ways, but primarily it's where and how his foot hits the ice. And so if you watch, his right foot's going to hit the ice, and then if you notice how his foot immediately juts out to the right, so between this frame and that frame, the angle changes on his right foot, kind of from here to here. And so because this foot is so extremely pointing out this direction, you can watch how his body is here, right? His body's there and his body's moving kind of at us in that direction, but his foot's going to get sucked out to the right and he's going to lose some stored energy in that right leg as it drifts out and it extends, and that stored energy isn't available for the next push. It's going to happen pretty quick, right there. So you can see how they're almost kind of like falling out to the side versus like it should look like when he pushes off on this leg should kind of be at an angle where his body's following it, and he just kind of a little bit comes over with it to keep that energy stored in this leg to then explode back the other direction. It's a really nuanced thing, and this is challenging to explain. But another way to think about it is, as he's skating towards us right now, I'm going to play it at speed. Watch how it kind of looks like his upper body is falling in a hole underneath him down here, and his legs are just kind of like trying to keep up with that falling motion versus creating speed and power. So like there's a lot of movement on those legs, but not a ton of force being created. And that's one of the reasons. It's just how, and golly, I wish I could say this better. Let me see if I can show one more example of it. So watch this leg, watch when it lands on the ice, and watch the time between where it lands and then where he's creating power, and watch how it goes from like landing here to out here, then he pushes. He's not pushing from when the foot's on the ice. And this delta and difference between here and here is just that lost stored potential energy in each stride. So again, we'll play it one more time. Try to do it slow. So when it lands, it just falls out from underneath him. And the other way to think about that is watch how this leg's trying to push that direction and this leg's trying to come back underneath him. And so if you want to run an experiment, try to jump from, let's say, your right leg out to your left leg, with your left leg being sucked back underneath you versus your left leg matching that force. All right, so another way to say it is, we want that leg pushing this direction. We want this leg moving that direction with the stride, not a push going that way and this foot coming back. Again, this is very challenging to explain, but one more time. So as that right leg's going out, you can see how that left leg's being sucked in as the right leg's going out. So the right leg pushes, the left leg comes in. We kind of want to match that. So when he pushes on the right leg, right there, that left leg should already be pushing out that direction. But again, this is like splitting hairs, and this is stuff that we're going to work on long term. But for right now, I would, just to recap, and that's kind of like way, way, way into the weeds for him, head up, focus on that arm movement, and then as much as you can, talk to him about just trying to like not bring his knees in, but just try to like bring his feet a little bit more underneath his body as he skates. If he gets those three things and just kind of gets those ideas in his head, I think it'll help a lot. So sorry that got really deep into the weeds, but that's like a unique thing that I don't get to show very often. So I was a little excited. Any questions? Hit me up, let me know. And glad to do another follow-up and help out any way I can. Talk to you soon.